Excuses. We all make them from time to time, but are your excuses actually holding you back from creating the life that you actually want to live? If so, join me today as I walk you through the psychological sticking points that lead to our excuses and how you can banish them in the moment so that you can actually start to take those action steps toward reaching your goals. If you're new here, my name is Rachel Harrison-Sund, and I help people to generate passive income selling journals, planners, notebooks, and more on the Kindle Direct publishing platform. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so that you can be notified every time I create one of these videos, which is each and every Monday. So an excuse is something that we concoct when we're just not willing to admit what the real reason is behind why we do or don't do a particular action. So an example here is, I didn't go for a run after work today because I had a hard day and I'm just too tired. The real reason here is I didn't go for a run today because frankly, I would rather just crawl under a blanket with a liter of wine and just guzzle that wine while I'm watching Netflix all night. Now, while it may seem harmless in the moment, making frequent excuses can and will stop you from reaching any of the goals that you want to achieve in life. And it will utterly destroy the possibility of you ever living up to your full human potential. Now, we're generally not willing to confront the real reason behind why we do or don't want to do something, because if we do that, we're going to be forced to look our biggest fears and limiting beliefs right in the face. And this can be really, really scary. And when we do that, we either have to accept that we've just got some intractable personal flaw that there's nothing we can do something about, or we have to accept that, yes, we can do something about it, and then we actually have to do something about it. And that can be really, really scary. Now, a lot of us do sort of boil it down to some sort of personal character flaw, like, I'm just too lazy, or I'm just too disorganized. But looking at it in that way cuts off the solution before you can even try and figure out if there is one. Rather than personalize these things as flaws, labeling ourselves as lazy or disorganized or whatever it is, it's helpful to throw out that label and discover what the actual reason is behind it so that we can accept that there is a solution and we do have control over what we do about it. When we do that, that is when we're actually going to be able to start taking some action and then finally getting the results. So let's talk about the couple of psychological sticking points that I think leads to excuses to begin with. So the first one is not having a clear why. Now, I've talked about this quite a lot. I've got a video that you can check out right here about discovering what your personal why is and how you can connect to that. So go ahead and check out that video. Many of us, we're okay with setting goals. We know what it is we want, but oftentimes we don't know the reason why we actually want to achieve it. And if we don't know what that why is, then there's not really going to be any follow through on that goal because there's nothing really emotionally connecting us to it. But when you are 100% sure of the reason why you want to achieve a certain goal, oftentimes that can be enough to obliterate our excuses. Now, there's a Jim Rohn quote that says, if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Now, as a quick example, when I was still back working my 9 to 5 job, I had to get up at like 6 a.m. before work just so I could squeeze in a couple of hours on my side hustle before I actually then went and put in a full work day. And then I would oftentimes come home and work in the evening as well. Now, I'm not really much of a morning person. I really would rather not get up at 6 a.m. if I don't have to. So, there are a lot of mornings, especially in the dead of winter when it's just like pitch black still at that time. I didn't want to get up. But if I just connected to the reason why I was doing it, which was, hey, if I can do this and if I can get my business to a point where I don't actually have to go to work anymore, that's what I'm striving for here. This is the reason why I'm doing it. So that feeling of building my own business and not actually ever having to get up for anyone ever again, that was me connecting to my why. And that had such an emotional draw for me that was enough to get my butt out of bed every morning at 6 a.m. Now, apart from not having a clear why, I think probably the bigger reason why we make these excuses is we're dealing with a lot of fear and a lot of limiting beliefs. Those things are just really holding us back. So like I said, oftentimes, connecting with your personal why, that can be enough to get rid of the excuses. But if not, I think there's something deeper, some deeper inner work that has to be done to figure out what are the fears or the limiting beliefs that are actually holding you back. Now, I've found that most fears seem to be able to be boiled down to either a fear of failure or a fear of not being good enough or being inadequate. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that, have a fear of success, but I actually think that a fear of success actually fits neatly under either the fear of failure or the fear of not being good enough. Because usually when someone's afraid of achieving success, it's because once they have that success, they're not going to be able to keep up with it, or they're not going to be able to handle the responsibility that comes along with it. So I think, because of those things, a fear of success actually ultimately is a fear of failure or a fear of not being good enough. So let's talk a bit about fear of failure. So I think the reason that the fear of failure is so potent is because we tend to personalize our failures. Instead of just saying, I failed at such and such, we say, I am a failure. We take that on as a personal character flaw. Now, I've found that the best way to banish the fear of failure is to just simply accept that I'm going to fail. If you know you're going to fail, you don't have to be worried about what if I fail, because you know that you're going to. So you're kind of taking that fear out of the equation. You're just accepting this is going to happen. And it's going to happen more than once. So instead of personalizing your fear of failure, you're just accepting failure as a normal and expected part of the process on your way to success. Now, does that mean it's going to completely eliminate your fear of failure? No, I still get afraid of failing as well, but that fear is a whole lot easier knowing that, okay, this is just something that has to happen. It's going to happen, so I can just accept that. And I know that each failure I have ultimately moves me closer to success. So that fear of failure, it's no longer a threat to me. It's just something I've integrated as a part of the process, and I'm expecting it. Another quote here for you from Sumner Redstone: success is not built on success. It's built on failure. It's built on frustration. And sometimes it is built on catastrophe. Now, over to the fear of not being good enough. This fear can only be present if you are actively comparing yourself to somebody else. So comparing yourself to other people's progress, that has absolutely no benefit to you whatsoever, especially when you don't have the background story. You don't know how much time that person has. You don't know how long they've been plugging away on whatever it is that they're plugging away on. You don't know how many failures that they've had. You don't know how many hours a week they have to work on whatever it is. You don't know any of the details whatsoever. So it is absolutely pointless to compare yourself to someone else when you are on your own unique path. And it's just going to harm you. So you've really got to try and stop comparing yourself to others, and that will eliminate this fear of not being good enough. You've got to focus on progress, not perfection. And if you really have to compare yourself to someone, the only person that you should be comparing yourself to is the person that you were yesterday. That should be the only person that you are trying to beat. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the top 5 self-sabotaging excuses that are holding you back and what to do about them in the moment. Now, these are more tactical solutions to these excuses. So if these don't work, that means I think you've got to go back to the psychological sticking points, maybe do a little journaling and figure out what are the actual fears behind them that you're trying to get rid of. Once you've tackled those, you will be able to banish these excuses. So the first most popular excuse is, I don't have time. Now, the real reason here is I don't prioritize doing the things that I claim are important to me. So what's the solution? Firstly, on Monday morning, or you can do this on Sunday at some point, or even at the end of the day on Friday, refer to what the goal is that you are trying to achieve. Then you want to write down your 3 specific action steps that you're going to take throughout the week that are going to make you move forward toward achieving that goal. Then you're going to take out your planner, and you are going to schedule in those activities, those 3 action steps, at some point throughout your week. You're going to give yourself a little bit of an estimate of how much time it's going to take, and you're going to actually mark it down on the day at a specific time when you're going to do that action step. Now, once you've done this, congratulations, you have actually made the time for yourself to get done whatever it is that you need to get done toward achieving your goal. Now, let's say you scheduled something in your calendar for Monday at 3 o'clock, and then you get there and this next excuse pops up. The next excuse being, I don't have the energy, or I just don't feel motivated. Now, the real reason behind the I don't have energy excuse is I'm not taking care of my mind and my body in a way that leaves me enough energy to accomplish the things I want to accomplish. And the real reason behind the I don't feel motivated excuse is I'm unwilling to do anything unless I am feeling motivated in the moment to do it. So for the first part of that excuse, if you're really having trouble with your energy, you've got to take a look at what you're doing for your body and your mind. So this all starts with, the usual suspects here. Are you getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep in a night? If not, why not? Are you eating nutritious meals throughout the day? Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking time every day to do some sort of deep relaxation so that you're able to fully decompress and build your energy reserves back up? So those are sort of the foundational things that you're going to need to address if you want to build up that energy again. Now, there's a little bit of a trick here too, which works whether it's an energy issue or a motivation issue. Just commit to completing the smallest portion of that step possible. So take exercise, for example. There are some evenings where, I'm trying to do my exercises in the evening now. And at 8 o'clock at night, it's like, I just totally don't feel like doing that. So if I planned on doing a 30-minute yoga routine, then I'll just commit to doing just the first 5 minutes. Anyone can do 5 minutes of anything, right? So the idea there is if I go down and do my 5 minutes, if I truly feel done after that, I can still feel good about myself that I did make that small amount of progress. Now, what usually happens is once I get through those first 5 minutes, suddenly my motivation has returned, suddenly I've got energy, and I'm actually able to complete the entire task. So it's just a nice little mental trick that you can use in the moment to try and get yourself to do something that you really just don't feel like doing. Break it up into its smallest part and just commit to those first 5 minutes and see where that takes you. And then remember, with motivation, action precedes motivation. It's not the other way around. If you wait for motivation to strike, it's never going to happen. Motivation is something that we experience at the beginning of a project. Once we're halfway through, motivation flies out the window. The only way to get it back is to take some action. Oftentimes, if we take action, then we will start feeling motivation again afterwards, but it doesn't work the other way around. I'll throw in another quote here from Stephen King, which is, amateurs wait to feel motivation, the rest of us just get up and go to work. All right, excuse number 3. I'm overwhelmed, or I just don't know where to start. Now, the real reason behind this excuse is I haven't created an appropriate action plan to help me achieve my desired result. So all we need to do here is create a plan. So first off, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's time to get present. We can't really feel overwhelmed in the moment unless we are thinking about all the stuff we need to get done in the future. So forget all about the future for a minute, just take a few deep breaths and just center yourself in the here and now. Likely in this exact moment, taking those deep breaths, you are completely fine. Next, you're going to create your action plan. So whatever the goal is that's got you feeling stressed out, just write down what you think are the action steps you're going to need to take in order to achieve the goal. Next, just take those first 3 steps, open up your planner, and schedule those first 3 steps throughout that first week. And that's going to just ensure that you're focusing just on one single step at a time. Usually when we're overwhelmed, it's because we're thinking of all the things, all the steps that we need to take all at once. But you've got to become really adept at just taking out that one first step. Just forget about all the other steps for the moment. Just focus on that one first step. Once that's done, then you go on to the next step and so on and so forth. Remember, goals take time to achieve, and it's likely that they're going to take a little bit longer than you first anticipated, and it's going to get done incrementally over a period of time. So I'm full of quotes today, but here's another one from R. Collier. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Now, that's one that I have looked at pretty much every day for the last few years because it can be really discouraging sometimes when we feel like we're making really, really slow progress on something. But slow and steady really does win the race, in my opinion. Now, the 4th excuse is, I don't know how. Now, the real reason behind this excuse is I'm just not willing to learn the skills required to achieve my desired result, nor am I willing to enlist the help of someone who does have the skills needed. Now, the solution here is to just determine what is the specific piece of knowledge that you need to acquire in order to carry out the action step that you need to take toward achieving your goal. Now, one thing I like to do to determine whether this is something I should pay someone else to do or whether I should take on the responsibility of learning how to do that skill myself is I ask myself, can I pay someone to complete this task for less money than my time is worth? If the answer to this is yes, then I will find an expert in whatever that field is and I will pay that person to do it. If the answer is no, then I will take it upon myself to learn that skill and I'll just add that to my knowledge database and I'll have it moving forward. And then finally, just keep in mind that whatever the goal is you're working on, it is likely going to demand for you to expand your skill set. Now, the fifth excuse, and one of the ones I see the most commonly, is I don't want to waste my time doing something that might not work. Now, what I think the real reason behind this excuse is I am scared shitless of failure, so I don't even want to try. Now, I just want to say, if this is an excuse that you are using frequently or something that you're really afraid of, then online business and entrepreneurship is not for you. There is going to be nothing but uncertainty in the beginning of this whole process. There are going to be a ton of moments when you have absolutely no idea if any of your efforts are actually going to pay off. Success is never guaranteed, but what you've got to remember here is that not even a 9-to-5 job is certain anymore. So even if you're in a job that you think is, quote, secure, it's probably not as secure as you think. So it doesn't matter what we do, whether we're in an online business, some sort of entrepreneur, or we work a 9-to-5 job, there's always going to be a certain level of uncertainty that we just have to accept. For me, I would rather just bet on myself. I'm willing to take on all of that uncertainty. When I first started with publishing, I had no idea if my results were going to pay off, how long it was going to take, but I just had faith in myself that I would just find a way somehow. So I think most of the successful entrepreneurs that I have met have that same sort of feeling inside. They are willing to take on that uncertainty. And there is just this strong feeling that they just know that things are going to work for them if they just keep on trying and keep on plugging away. And that is exactly how I feel. And I think that is what has allowed me to continue on, even when I feel completely uncertain if things are actually going to work out in my favor or not. And by the way, a lot of times things don't work out in your favor and things don't work out. And again, that's just another one of those things that you absolutely have to accept if you're going to embark on a journey like entrepreneurship. This excuse really is tied heavily back into that fear of failure. So again, you want to depersonalize any failures that you experience. You are not a failure. You just have to accept failures to happen on the road to success. So I'll leave you with one more quote here from John C. Maxwell, which is, "The difference between average people and achieving people is their perception and response to failure." So remember, making excuses absolutely will stop you from reaching any of the goals that you set for yourself, and it will destroy the possibility of ever reaching your full human potential. So figuring out how to overcome these psychological sticking points that lead to you making excuses and learning how to deal with the excuses in the moment that they crop up really is essential for you to actually start achieving some of those goals that you set for yourself and living that life that you really want to live. So I'd really love to know, what is the most frequent excuse that you use that you think is really holding you back from achieving the life that you really want to live? Go ahead and tell me in the comments below, whether it's one I just talked about in this video, or if it's one that I didn't mention. Let me know. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to find out more about how you can start generating passive income, selling journals, planners, notebooks, and more on the Kindle Direct publishing platform, then be sure to download my free guide, 3 Steps to Publishing Your First Low-Content Book in Less Than a Day. You can find the link to that free guide in the description below. You're also welcome to join my free Facebook group, Low Content Profits. This is where other low-content publishers hang out, give each other support and feedback, and learn more about low-content publishing. So I've left a link to that in the description below as well, and I hope to see you there. Check out these videos next for more mindset-related videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Thank you.